What's up, addicts? In this video, we're going to be breaking down the Week 3 matchup between the Defenders and the LA Wildcats, going over all the fantasy stats for this game. But hey, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more. Alright guys, so as I said, breaking down the Defenders-Wildcats game, biggest surprise on the week, totally shifted the XFL landscape from what we knew. Final score in this one, Wildcats 39, Defenders 9. Now, before the week started, we had determined that this was probably the game that was the most likely to hit the over, but I did not expect it to be this one-sided. It did hit the over, so we were right on that regard, but we were expecting this to be a much more competitive game. We knew that LA was better than their 0-2 record showed. We knew a lot of that had to do with the fact that Josh Johnson hadn't had a lot of time to play with the starters and was still recovering from that injury, but man, the Defenders looked like they just didn't even practice for this game, or they didn't even it just felt like they totally didn't prepare for the potential for this game to actually be close. So this next week is going to be very, very, very important and telling for the Defenders going forward. If they can come around and perform well against Tampa Bay this week, then my confidence in them will be recertified. But right now, it's incredibly shaken. They have a very talented team, but if they can just fall apart like this at any given moment, that's not what you want to see in a championship contender. So lots to talk about here. So let's break down the stats for this one. Cardale Jones, absolutely atrocious game after looking like the potential MVP after the first 2 weeks. Only 13 of 26 for 103 yards and 4 interceptions, no touchdowns in this one. Also had 6 carries for 19 yards, so just terrible start. Tyree Jackson ended up playing towards the end of the game, only threw 2 passes, 1 completion for 4 yards. Nothing going on the ground in this game. Donnell Pumphrey 8 for 40, Jarrell Presley 4 for 20. Donnell Pumphrey also had 3 catches for just 2 yards. Jarrell Presley with no catches on the day. By about the second half, they took both of those guys out and started mixing things up with Khalid Abdullah and Nick Brossette. Both of them had 8 attempts. Nick Brossette had 8 attempts for 75 yards and the 1 touchdown for the Defenders on the day. Khalid Abdullah with 8 attempts, 47 yards, also had 2 catches for 11 yards. So the backup running backs that nobody started getting some stuff done for you. Looking at the receivers here, just nothing across the board. 6 targets for Rashad Ross, only 1 catch for 17 yards. 6 targets for Eli Rogers, only 3 catches for 15 yards. 3 targets for DeAndre Tompkins, 1 catch for 18 yards. And then tight end Kari Lee had 3 catches for 38 yards. Just vomit all around the place. So this next week is going to be very interesting. Sorry, and I said Jarrell Presley didn't have any catches. He had 2 catches for 1 yard. But still, overall, only a couple points on the day for fantasy. Just not what anyone was expecting. This next week is going to be very vital for the Defenders to turn things around and show that this week was a fluke. You guys want to actually see how this game went down, though, I actually put together condensed versions of this game where you can see the entire game in under 30 minutes. So make sure you click the link in the description or the box above me. All right, jumping over to the Wildcats now. As we said, we were expecting them to perform well in this one. Josh Johnson, 18 of 25, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day, 148 quarterback passer rating, near perfect on the day. Very solid performance here from Josh Johnson going against a defense that had been playing really well. This is very telling going forward of what we can expect from Josh Johnson. Now, right before the game started, they declared Elijah Hood inactive, decided they were going to go with Larry Rose and Martez Carter. Now, Larry Rose technically got to start. He had 5 carries for 6 yards and 1 touchdown. Not very good. Martez Carter, though, 11 carries for 34 yards, only averaging 3.1 a carry, but he had 2 touchdowns on the ground and also had 3 catches for 41 yards and another touchdown through the air. Played really well. Every time he touched the ball, he had plenty of explosiveness to his step. A lot of the reason why his average was low, he was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage a lot, but anytime he was able to break past the line, he was breaking off big runs. Martez Carter looked phenomenal in this game, and I would be really surprised if they go back to Elijah Hood, especially after all the fumbles that he had last week. Martez Carter looks like he should be the main running back in LA going forward and will be a very valuable fantasy commodity. We'll get more to that in our waiver video. Looking at the receivers here now, We were expecting a revenge game here, but we forgot that there were two sides to that. So Rashad Ross ended up having a terrible day, whereas Trey McBride, the other side of that trade in the offseason, he went 6 targets, 5 receptions, 109 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He dropped another could-be touchdown, so and then towards the end of the game, he got hurt. So we don't really know at this point whether or not we can finally go back to the well with Trey McBride. It didn't look super serious, but it's very hard to tell based on the way that the XFL has their injury reports now. They're not nearly as transparent as they are in the NFL. He didn't play the rest of the game. He got hurt in the third quarter, so I have to keep an eye out for that one. But overall, Trey McBride came onto the scene and stole the show. Nelson Spruce still looking really good out there. They just didn't need him nearly as much. 4 targets on the day, 3 catches for 75 yards, averaging 25 yards per catch. So still overall looking pretty good, but not what you were expecting in this game. Jordan Smallwood, only 2 targets, 2 catches for 15 yards. Nothing else from Adonis Jennings or Kermit Whitfield, at least nothing worth mentioning. And then Brandon Barnes, again, just 2 catches for 29 yards. So we keep defending him, and eventually, we're hoping that he ends up blowing up. But I think there's just getting to the point that they're not focusing on the tight end in this offense. We might only, be seeing 2-3 catches from Brandon Barnes going forward, and the only thing that we end up hoping for is a touchdown, which, with the exception of Donald Parham right now, has been the tight end landscape. So it's not like you're dropping Brandon Barnes, but he's definitely been a bit of a disappointment. So, but overall, very interesting to see how both of these teams react in week 4 going forward. The momentum for LA should propel them to be able to win another game and go 2-2. But DC is the one that is going to be very interesting. They're playing Tampa Bay in Tampa, who just played the Houston Roughnecks very well. So this weekend will be very interesting for the Defenders. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you check out my website. We're updating a lot of stuff there this week, getting you guys ready for week 4 and the rest of the season for fantasy. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to stay up to date on everything that's happening. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.